It was a question as to whether you were a celebrity or a pro. I think they put you in with the pros, didn't they?
Yeah, they made me run back there with Parnelli and Rod Millen, and who else was back there? Oh my God, PJ was back there, that cheater.
Listen, is Holman going to bring back a car for you to drive?
Oh yeah, he's really good. Richard went out, and he's real steady, and I wish I were better up here. I mean, I wish I had more time, but don't we wish a lot of things, and they don't come true? We'll see what happens, though.
We've walked quite a ways down the grid now, and still we're with Grand Sports Cars. We've still got the sports and touring cars back there. We're going to talk quickly with Terry McDonald now. Terry, you're right in the middle of the pack. Does this make it difficult to start?
Not really. I'm comfortable here. I did my fastest ever in 42, and I'm still starting 18th, so it's got to say something for all those guys in front of me.
Are all those guys in front of you legal?
I think so.
Longtime Honda driver Terry DeFrancesco has given up Hondas after 14 years and gone over to Toyotas. Terry DeFrancesco standing outside the car. We're going to assume that Scott Primo is going to start the car. Terry, how do you like the new car?
Well, it's new, it's fast, I like it. It's very good, I like it
And,
so far.
and Scott Primo is doing a good job for you?
Actually doing an excellent job. For a rookie, I think it's going to be great. He's going to win the Rookie of the Year this year, you watch.
The pole in touring class belongs to Des Hockley with Team Paintball. And let's establish how much of this pole is deserving of praise for you and how much for Peter Stallybrass, your crew chief.
Yeah, Peter's done a great job, Tom. These cars were completely rebuilt, and they're just working fantastic.
Now, Tom, before we get round number 1 underway, let me get this straight. There are 3 classes of cars, right?
The Grand Sports car is the first class, and we see the big V8s and the real fast Porsches mixing it up with Audis and BMWs. Really easy to keep straight, Jim.
Okay, now behind this is usually sport class cars?
Yeah, the sports class makes up of Tauruses and MR2 turbos, another kind of BMW in there, Volkswagen Corrados, great cars.
Okay, and in behind those are usually touring cars.
Yes, normally touring cars fill out the back of the pack. Those are your Hondas, Nissans, Volkswagens, another kind of BMW. It's really easy to keep straight. I don't know what your problem is, Jim.
So there are BMWs in Grand Sport, in Sport, and in touring class.
If you'd got the program that I told you to buy, you'd be all right, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I'll just go get a program. We'll have the start of our race in just a moment. Mosport, I'd like to welcome Ray David aboard.
Well, thank you, Jim.
And as we watch our huge field go by, we'd like to remind everyone that all of our in-car and mini wall cams for Firehawk Television are supplied by our good friends at Sony Canada.
We've got 79 cars registered for this program this year. Over 60 of them are on the track right now. Ray, the drivers are sawing back and forth on the wheels. What kind of things are you thinking about in a field this big?
Well, at this time, we're trying to warm up the tires and warm up the brakes and try to have a clean start. That's what we're looking for.
We watch the field come through White's corner, corner 10 at Mosport, down the front straightaway toward the green flag. Firehawk Racing for 1992 is underway.
The Chevy power of John Cadman leading a whole gaggle of Porsches down into turn 1. Ray, the number 1 car, last year's champion, is right in the middle of that dogfight.
Yeah, that's correct, but we had a poor start over there. As you can see, we lost a couple of places.
Lots of time to make up the places as far as this race is concerned as we watch the clearly Canadian Olds Calais in the middle of the sport category make their way through turn number 1.
John Cadman establishes himself early as the leader of this race. We've got the 66 Promotive Racing car of Mark Schill in chase, but pretty much the top 5 places are 2 Camaros and about 5 Porsches.
Underneath the bridge at the south end of the circuit for the first time into Moss Corner, race leader John Cadman. Ron Fellows, Larry Caruso, and the Kenwood Porsche as the balance of the field streams by.
Now Art Bowes gets loose in 5A. Ray, did he get a little push?
Well, obviously, Renaud Hamlin took the inside line there, and there was no room for the both of them at the apex.
What a huge field out on the circuit today as they stretch it out. A great view. Looking into corner number 8, John Cadman with a huge lead already. We haven't even got a lap in the books, and John Cadman's got a massive lead.
Through the S's now, Cadman is really establishing himself as the early leader of this race. He'll be getting some information from his pit board now, finding out how fast that first lap was. Ray, how fast are the Grand Sports cars going here today?
Well, they were certainly going a second and a half quicker than the Porsches at that time. Cadman was doing a super job.
Doing a great job, and you can actually see the torque advantage of the Camaros coming up the straightaway. A pretty fair-sized gap as they got into turn number 8, but through the twisty parts, the Porsches caught them up a little bit. This could be an interesting race to see how long John Cadman can keep up this kind of pace.
John has established himself as a front runner in the Players GM Series. He's also known to be a rock'em sock'em driver, gives way to no one, but the place he wants to establish himself first is at the front of this pack.
Established he certainly is. John Cadman running away with things after only about a lap and a half. We watch him come through corner 5 once again, and we can see the gap beginning to stretch just a little bit more. A great battle between 3rd and 4th place there. A Camaro Porsche battle. Larry Caruso and Kenny Wilton going at it already.
And tucked in behind that battle is the Promotive racing car of Mark Schill, and right behind him is Ray David. Ray, what was going on at this point?
Well, we're trying to keep the pace at that time. It wasn't easy.
Ray, I was wondering, at this spot in the race, are you actually kind of pacing yourself? This is a 2-hour contest, after all.
Yes, we are. In endurance racing, you're trying to let the sprinters take the lead, and you're trying to save the car for the last.
A sprinter out front, and John Cadman Jr. with the silver and red Capital Tool and Design Camaro. A pass in corner number 9 as Kenny Wilton gets by Larry Caruso.
Looks like the Promotive racing car and Ray David are heating up their battle as well. The BMW of Rolf von Engelbrecht and Peter Lockhart and Nick Morant comes into view. Already, first time out this year, Ray, that car is establishing itself as a front runner.
Yes, Rolf and Peter are doing a super job.
Scott Maxwell in his pristine new Ford Taurus SHO. What a gorgeous car. Was the pole sitter and is doing a great job in the race.
Scotty Maxwell is known as a Formula 2000 driver, been a front runner in the Canadian version of that series for the last 5 years. Now he's taken up sedan racing with a great sponsorship from Alcoa and Ford Motorsports.
It's a pretty car. It's the first time out as far as the Firestone Firehawk series for the Ford Tauruses, and we've got a whole flock of them in this year's race.
4 more SHO Tauruses as part of the biggest team that's ever competed in Firehawk. 6 cars running under the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle banner.
Scotty Maxwell doing a steady job after qualifying his new Ford Taurus on the pole, and he's kind of on the steep side of the learning curve with that car. It's rather new to him, coming from Formula 2000 into a front-wheel drive family car. It must be a big change.
High horsepower car. It's got a tremendous Yamaha V6 engine in it. Creates all kind of torque to those front wheels, and Scotty was having trouble sorting himself out with it.
A good crowd here at Mosport as we watch our race leader, John Cadman, down the front straightaway again. Second place is Ron Fellows driving the Porsche today.
You can see Ron pushing real hard, didn't you?
He's trying to wring every last ounce out of that car, and Cadman is making it tough for him.
He's been following John Cadman for the past couple days of practice and again in qualifying. Ron Fellows is working the Porsche as hard as he possibly can, but there doesn't seem to be any stopping John Cadman so far today. The leader in touring, Des Hockley in the Paintball CRX, as he gets by some of the cars in the sport category, supposedly some of the quicker cars in through the twisty parts up along the pit straightaway.
That was a beautiful pass by Des.
These 2 cars aren't running in actual competition as in the same class, but they are sure battling it out. This is where the fringes of both classes can battle with each other.
The touring class CRX and the Taurus in the sport category as the Taurus looks to the inside through corner number 2. That's a difficult place to pass.
Indeed, corner 2 at Mosport is very difficult. It's a double apex corner, left-hand turn. And as you can see, Des took the first apex, went a bit wide, and then comes back to the last apex. So obviously there's very little room for somebody to pass.
Willie Lewis continues to work on Des Hockley as we look further back in the field and see Scott Primo in the Toyota MR2. More turtles, and there is John's shirt.
Race leader John Cadman down the front straightaway again as he puts another lap in the books. John's had this race pretty much well in hand, and he's running away from everybody, or at least trying to. We catch up with the sport category leaders, Scott Maxwell in turn 5.
And now Ron Fellows trying to get inside Kenny Wilton. Beautiful pass going into turn 8, Ray.
Well, actually, Ron started the pass at 5A, and his superior braking could outbrake him going into 8.
And up at the top end of the circuit, we see a great demonstration as the Camaro horsepower gets a nose in front, but into the twisty parts of the circuit in corners 8, 9, and 10. Ron Fellows in the Porsche retakes the position. Ron Fellows running second. Kenny Wilden still runs in third.
Kenny Wilden going to school on Ron Fellows now. He's going to try to figure out what advantage he can take going down into one or perhaps back on the back straight.
The best battle up front. Ron Fellows and Kenny Wilden, followed by 3 Porsches, Larry Caruso, Ray David, and Victor Sifton in the third of the Porsches, running 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Let's jump in the car with Willie Lewis. We've got trouble on the outside of 2. Lewis is going to have to drive through and hope he doesn't hit anything. As the smoke clears, it's Rick Choi in another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle car.
Fell off in 2 and did a little off-roading there, but didn't hit anything solid from the look of it. Now looking over the shoulder of Rick, and we watch the Taurus fall off the track.
Well, it appears that the track was very slippery at the top of 2.
Elbows and knees all over the cockpit of the Ford Taurus as Rick Choi gathers it up. Don't know if there's more dust on the inside or the outside of that car at this point.
Oh boy, I imagine that tastes terrible. All that Mosport sandy loam floating through the air on the inside of the Taurus as he's back underway though.
Rick Choi deposits most of that sandy loam back on the track as he re-enters. Pete Mills now trying to hustle along and stay in front of a big gang of Grand Sports cars.
Des Hockley into turn number 5 as here comes Rick Choi once again. This time tries the inside of 5 and he's up into the wall.
Rick Choi having a heck of a time. Probably picked up all kinds of dirt on his hot tires and carried it all the way into 5 where he lost it again.
That's exactly what happened. The tires had lost their grip.
Ooh, a solid smack up against the concrete on the outside of the wall. We rejoin Ron Fellows and look over his shoulder as the battle with Kenny Wilden continues.
This time complicated by Mario Ballet in the Volkswagen. Now he can't take that inside line. He's going to have to follow Kenny through.
Wilden trying to hold off Ron Fellows. This is where the Porsche has an advantage. We'll have to wait and see whether Ron can duck to the inside. Kenny doesn't give him any room, gets by a back marker at the same time, has to move over. And Kenny Wilden's going to be able to hold on to this position now that he's onto one of the quicker parts of the track.
Paul Armstrong now in yet another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. He's getting beat up by Ian Phillips.
And the third car in that freight train is the Jeff Lorman BMW. An interesting contrast to machinery. The Ford Taurus is new to Firehawk this year. Let's go to Tom Natchew and our team profile.
Each week we'll be looking at a different team in the Firestone Firehawk Endurance Championship as part of our team profile. This week we're with Cancom Highland Motorsports, and this is Paul Armstrong and Sean Highland, the team owners. They've got some unique cars and a very unique team. Paul, how did the idea come about?
Well, we were down in Sebring about 1.5 years ago, Tom, and we saw these 4 cars running in the series in the United States. We thought, what better way to come into the Canadian series in a big way and in an impressive way and something that everybody was going to recognize. We also felt that there was some very unique opportunities in Canada for moving into sponsorship.
And tell us about the characters on the car.
Well, we have the 4 Ninja Turtles, and I'll probably get it wrong, but it's Donatello, Leonardo, Raphael, and who did I miss? There's another one.
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo, thank you very much. That's on the Ford Taurus SHOs. We have a 5-liter Mustang as well, and that's the Shredder character from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And we also have an Escort GT running in touring class, and that's Master Splinter, who's the teacher for the Ninja Turtles in the series.
That's fantastic. Now tell us a little bit about the cars, Sean.
Well, the cars are basically the 4 main entries which are in the sports category are Ford Taurus SHOs, which are a high-performance sedan that Ford has produced with the 24-valve V6 engine. The Yamaha engine develops 220 horsepower, and with the modifications that we're allowed to make to the suspension under the Firehawk rules, we can get them to handle pretty well as well. So it's more than a competitive package.
It's well known the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are a big fan of pizza, and that brings up an interesting sponsorship, doesn't it, Paul?
Well, it certainly does. We were very fortunate this year in having 2 new sponsors to the series, one being Ford Motor Company of Canada, who has been looking after us very well, and the other one, of course, being McDonald's Restaurants of Canada. We just happened to walk into their offices about a week before they were ready to secretively launch pizza in 643 restaurants across Canada this year. So the tie-in was a natural, and they've been very enthusiastic, both companies, and very, very helpful in putting this team together and getting us lots of publicity and giving us lots of help.
So we've got 4 great SHO Tauruses, each with a different Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle on the hood. Paul, what about these helmets?
Well, these are all painted up in the characteristics of the 4 different turtles. And quite often these get more publicity than the cars do. They're quite an attraction and very unique.
Can you actually see it of these things?
No, but we try not to see when we drive anyway, Tom.
This Firestone Firehawk Endurance Championship is populated by all kinds of different teams, and each week we'll be looking at one of them.
Back with our race leader from the green flag, it's been John Cadman in his Chevy Camaro as we're watching round number 1 of the Firestone Firehawk Endurance Championship unfold. John off in the distance as far as his nearest competitor is concerned.
Interesting battle heating up between Nick Holmes and Richard Holman. Holmes goes around Holman on the outside of 10. Absolutely unheard of, Ray.
Exactly. This is a one-in-a-lifetime pass for sure.
A nervy move as Nick Holmes takes over the position from Richard Holman, but Richard isn't letting it get away.
Traffic now as John Cadman is starting to work his way up through some lap cars. Ray, this has got to be a difficult section of the race.
No, actually not. John is such an experienced driver, traffic won't bother him at all.
The Sony wall cam in turn number 8, we see the battle between Holmes and Holman still heating up.
Richard Holman isn't going to let him go through corner number 8. Only a car length between those two. The twisty part of the course where the original pass was made coming up into corner number 9. Now back into 10. Richard Holman right on the back bumper of Nick Holmes.
Richard Holman took a look on the outside of 10, wondering how the heck did Nick do that the last time? Now he goes inside. He's going to try to get by Holmes here.
And the two cars are together.
Contact.
Holmes and Holman, and around goes Nick Holmes to the inside. Richard Holman with a nice job to keep the car going in a straight line.
Well, actually, Holman thought he had the corner, but Nick Holmes thought otherwise.
What we call closing the door, and Nick Holmes has been known for Firehawk door closing for the last 5 years.
The door got slammed on Nick, and around he went. Let's ride on board with Richard Holman.
Here's an opportunity to put some distance between himself and Nick Holmes. More contact in front of Holman. Holman's not having a good day.
A couple touring cars coming together, and it takes the bumper off the GTI up in 3.
Mario Valet running a little lighter now as he gets things back underway. Through the sandy part and the outside of turn 3, he's going to lose some valuable positions.
Mario Valet with a really nice job to get the Volkswagen GTI back on track, not collect anybody, but resume racing speeds once again. Down in turn number 5, a Taurus with some smoke.
Nick Holmes following that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle car, blowing a little smoke out the rear end. Hey, I haven't got time for you and your problems. I got to get back after Holman.
Nick Holmes a little frustrated after his dealings with Richard Holman up in 1. Doesn't waste any time getting by the 4 Taurus.
Well, actually, Victor thinks he has the inside line as he should have it. However, the 34 car was wild all over the place.
Very, very loose in turns 5A and 5B. Paul Armstrong all over the road. Harry Hatch now dives inside the promotive car. Mark Schill just manages to gather it up and skim along the wall. I think he took about a quarter inch off the mirror there, Ray.
Well, actually, Harry had the inside line. It was his corner all the way.
A great job by Mark Schill after the contact to keep it off the wall. There sure wasn't a whole lot of room to work, but he managed to do it. Harry Hatch now into the pits.
Well, Harry thinks he's had some damages, and therefore he wants to check. Of course, he's got a smoking tire.
Harry Hatch with a fender pushed down on the Firehawk tire there. Doesn't want to run the risk of having that tire go down on him out on the race circuit. Brings it into the pits.
Rick Bye's Commercial Motorsports squad will attend to that car as we go back to the track. Gary Magwood in the number 8 Olds Calais is really streaking up through the field, holding on to second place in the sports class now as we see the cars come through 3.
As we approach the halfway mark, it's about now everybody starts thinking about pit stops. There's a mandatory pit stop in the Firestone Firehawk series at every race.
Not only that, this race is 2 hours, so these cars will have to take on fuel. Ray, not a bad time for Harry to hit the pits. It's about the middle of the race.
No, obviously it's a fantastic time because we're halfway into the race.
Gary Magwood with a full head of steam going into 5. He's loose. Oh, this is going to be hard.
Oh, Gary Magwood puts a clearly Canadian Olds Calais hard into the wall at the exit of turn number 5. That was a real solid lick.
Back up to the top side of the course, we see Ron Fellows. Another green flag pit stop. Ron has elected to come in for fuel. There doesn't seem to be any damage with the car, right?
No, probably Ron is expecting a yellow, but I think he came in a bit too early.
His yellow flag pit stops turned into a green just by a few ticks of the clock.
The Denon crew are swarming over that car. They are going to give Ron a new left front tire. Perhaps chasing Cadman, he overcooked that tire.
Overcooked it as possible, but more likely he ran over some debris as, oh, we've got another incident out on the track. The skid marks leading to a Camaro in the sand trap at the exit of 1.
Paul Armstrong seems very preoccupied with the rear of his car. Somebody's got to be right there.
Indeed, it's a Scott Maxwell Torres getting by on the inside of 2.
Well, Scott knows that track extremely well, and he did a superb pass at the top of 2.
A real nice pass as Scotty Maxwell takes the position, and with the cars off the track, we are under full course yellow. The pace car comes up.
The busiest place on the race course, Ray, now is about to be pit lane.
Yes, obviously it's halftime, and we want a driver change, as most teams change drivers. And obviously under yellow, it affords us plenty of time to do that.
Let's do the Sony driver profile.
We're with Craig T. Nelson. Craig, welcome to Canada and welcome to Firehawk.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
It really is a pleasure. We got a nice sunny day today as far as experience with the car. How do you find the team? What brings you to Firehawk?
Well, actually, I was racing up at Sears Point, and Richard Holman had seen where I was racing, and he has the Firehawk team up here. He came down to Sears and said, can we do something? I said, sure, let's go do it. So that's why I'm here.
The Firestone Firehawk series is one of the safer series around, but still it is car racing, it's fast, and it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's all part of it, and I think that's why I'm doing it, is fear factors have never been, for me, such an unpleasant thing to go through, and I think if no one had any fear about it, everybody would be doing it. And that's the interesting thing about what you see going on in Indy and other places also, is everybody's working through levels. There's different things going on with different drivers. That's what makes it so exciting, is that each time you're reaching another plateau and you've made that turn a little bit faster, now you're going to go a little bit faster, and each time there's a gut check, and gosh, you know, that's what that's what fun's all about. I don't think about doing anything outside of this that is that much fun, other than probably going home with my wife, who's a martial artist, and then not having dinner ready. But no, it doesn't. I think it's exciting.
We've enjoyed being with you. Thank you very much. Craig T. Nelson with the Screaming Eagles Racing Camaro this year.
Our driver profile is shot on Sony High 8 equipment.
The pace car pulls up and heads down pit lane as the field comes through turn number 10 toward the green flag once again. We're racing here at Mosport for round number 1 of the Firestone Firehawk Endurance Championship. Ron Fellows, the leader in the blue Porsche. A few car lengths back now due to the shuffle in the pits is John Cadman.
Ray, by this time you're out of the car and Rick is into the car. We've had a yellow period to cool off. What's the strategy from this point?
Well, at this time, Rick is trying to find a comfortable pace to race and accommodate himself with what's going on at the moment.
We catch up with the pack as they come over the top of turn number 2. Our race leader, Ron Fellows in the blue Porsche, a few car lengths back. John Cadman in the Chevy Camaro.
We get on board with Craig T. Nelson. This is like the start of a new race. Everything's very busy.
Lots of tire smoke.
Craig sees the tire smoke, doesn't know what's going on, but he'll get way out of the throttle, let things develop again before he gets back into it.
Somebody jumped on the brakes just trying to avoid someone else running in close proximity up there. The field streams by as once again we are under green and we've got a huge pack here. Ray, driving in a crowd like this must be unnerving.
It is, especially at the start, at the restart, where everybody is very nervous, and you've had some driver changes, don't forget.
That's right, we got a bunch of drivers who are colder than the tires. Leading in sport, Scotty Maxwell in the Ford Taurus. He's had a lock on that one since the green flag. Now down to the south end of the circuit. The BMW leads the crowd by.
What a beautiful pass by David Empringham, who started his pass at the bottom of 4.
Gets by to the inside of Lloyd Service as we catch up with John Cadman. He's got a whole bunch of cars in front of him between himself and our new race leader, Ron Fellows.
Not much space separating these two cars, but there is some traffic. What a good time to go inside John Cadman's car for our STP Hot Lap feature.
Exiting corner 10. Gonna make a pass on the black Camaro of Scott Spencer down the inside of the front straight. Shift into 4th gear, coming into corner 1 now. See another red Camaro. I'm gonna have to try and take him on the inside. Up on the speed bumps, a little bit of contact. Nothing too serious, all part of racing. Now entering corner 2. No cars ahead, so I'm just gonna take my normal line to the inside here, down through 2. down to the inside again, and then exit to the speed bumps. Now entering corner 3, I think that's Nick Holmes in the Bert and Ernie's Camaro ahead. I'm gonna have to try and set Nick up for a pass. I'll probably just sit behind him all the way through into corner 5. Corner 4 approaching now. It's not a great place to pass, so I'll probably just sit behind him. Following Nick down through corner 4. Brake, downshift, up through 5A, follow Nick into 5B. Get a little bit better exit than Nick. Shift into 3rd gear. Past Nick now. Now we're heading up the back straight. See Ron Fellows up ahead. He's the guy I really want to catch, so I'm going to do my best to try and catch him soon. Just cresting the first hill here up the back straight, shifting into 5th gear. Feeling pretty relaxed right now. The Capital Dual and Design Camaro is running excellent. Just cresting the hill, approaching about 215 kilometers an hour. Downshift, turn into corner 8. Through corner 8, see the lap traffic ahead. Approaching a Porsche rather quickly. Through corner 9, make the pass between 9 and 10. Just a routine turn in for corner 10, and there's Ron right on just ahead.
Thank you very much, John Cadman, for taking us for a tour around Mosport. Looking as John bends the car into corner number 1, trying to follow Ron Fellows and make up that gap. It's going to be a good race before this one is out.
Look at the amount of room that Cadman makes up on Fellows under horsepower. This is your classic Porsche Camaro battle.
The leaders in sport and touring running nose to tail. The touring car actually out front, the red Honda of Ian Phillips. Scott Maxwell runs first in the sport category. There's the 2nd place in touring. That's Des Hockley in the Honda CRX.
Des has been leading this race, but under pitting, he got in behind Ian Phillips. He knows exactly what he must do now. He's got so much experience on this track. He's going to hunt down Phillips if he can and try to repass for the lead in touring.
Notice the number of the Ford Tauruses with a little brake smoke. They're really hard on brakes. There goes John Shirk in the green Acura running 3rd in touring right now.
John Shirk back in an Acura did so well in 1990 in one of those cars. He's got his eye on Hockley, and he'd like to get up in the front of this battle.
Now on board with David Empringham up into turn number 5, and there's lots of traffic in front of him.
David is such a hard charger. Whenever he gets in the car, he seems to ring out 10 tenths every time.
Now into turn number 5, the new for 92 BMW M5 gets passed by race leader Ron Fellows. Only one car back now is John Cadman in the Camaro.
Absolutely typical Nick Holmes, hard charging, trying to keep up to the back of the pack. Nick goes straight off the end of 5.
And we've got another car off. In the middle of turn 4, Craig T. Nelson slides off the circuit. Let's look on the inside with Craig T. and find out how this happens. The car just goes sideways. He gets a real close look at this concrete wall.
Well, it would appear to me that he probably left his braking too late, and then the car got very light.
Boy, the car is backwards and forwards. He's all over the place. Finally brings it to a halt.
There's another problem when you're following an incident like this. All you can really see is smoke. You don't know where to go. You have to just sort of drive in there and hope you are where he ain't.
It's driving by anticipation at this time.
Great job by everybody involved, especially the people in behind that incident. As we watch Craig T. try to bring it back onto the circuit, I don't think the car's been damaged at all. He just fell off into the grass over there. Fortunately, he didn't make any contact with anything.
Trying to make a left-hand turn onto a very busy thoroughfare.
Oh, boy.
Craig T. finally gets underway, but just inside is Yvon Goujon in the Music Plus Firebird.
Boy, oh boy, that's a blind intersection, and Craig T. pulled out just in the nick of time. Didn't get collected, but that was far too close.
Welcome to Canada, Craig. Inside with John Cadman Jr. coming up on some slower traffic. Still can't get close to Ron Fellows. Here's where they'll try to do it, though, on the back straight, where the Camaro's got just that advantage in horsepower.
He's got a couple people to get by. A Camaro on one side, of course, the BMW just in front. We'll see just who has the horsepower coming up the top of the Andretti straightaway here between corners 6 and corners 7. Now cresting the hill almost beside Ron Fellows.
Ray, it looks like one of the KFC Porsches could put him in a box.
No, that's right, but John is an expert driver, and he managed that extremely well.
John Cadman Jr. now takes the lead. Ron Fellows will have none of it, though, and gets back in front before the entry to 9.
Side by side, and a piece of road where you might have enough room to put 2 cars, and they just barely got away with that one. Ron Fellows is still out front at the top side of the circuit, down the pit straightaway again.
More horsepower from the Chevy car as Cadman will now to try to get inside on turn 1.
This will be interesting. Riding along with John Cadman. Can he hold the inside line? The Porsche supposedly with a better grip with the Firehawks. It's going to be John Cadman as he shuts the door to the outside. John Cadman, our race leader.
That's sheer bravery, Jim. John Cadman just outgutsed Ron Fellows into that corner. Cadman has Fellows behind him now, and that's exactly the way it was written in the playbook.
3 car lengths now separating first